Let's have a look at the Oathmark Surma. It's a multi-part metal model. It comes in 8 pieces: body, upper jaw and 6 legs. It goes together really well. I suggest you do the rear legs before you do the front ones, as they'll be in the way otherwise. And try to get the feet sitting flat. The leg joints are cleverly hidden by the folds of the Surma's body. There is minor gapping at the back of the head, but it only requires a tiny amount of putty to erase that if you so desire. I also added a couple of blobs of putty to the underside of some of the feet to get the model to sit nicely on a flat surface. Big thanks to North Star for sending me their latest Oathmark monster. And big thanks to my mate Matt for sending me a second. It's just as well you can field 2 in an army. Surmas are a much more obscure monster than ogres or trolls, for example, so there's plenty of leeway to use your imagination when painting yours. I latched on to painting up as a cave-dwelling spectre of death. Welcome back to the Ash and Stone channel. My name is Chris. To get the first of these beasties painted, I started with a black undercoat, sprayed on initially. Then I went through with a brush to ensure I got all of the gaps and recesses covered. I did this separately from the base to make sure I could easily get access to the underside. Then I glued it to a custom 3D printed base and movement tray to make handling much easier. There is a lot of excellent texture detail on the model, so I pick it out by dry brushing Vallejo Black Grey over the whole creature. It's nice and simple, but it easily picks out all of the scales and bumps and folds in the hide. The highlights are pushed a little further by mixing in a little Vallejo Neutral Grey into a Black Grey, about 50-50, and lightly dry brushing that over most of the model, but especially focusing on the upward surfaces. So along the back, shoulders, hips and feet for example. We're just trying to bring the texture on the higher points out even further. This gives us a nice dark base to work from, the black scales all but invisible in the darkness of the cave it calls home. Onto that I use Vallejo Light Grey to paint on skeletal-like markings. The head is very skull-like with deep recessed eyes and nostrils, so the top of the head and side of the jaws are given a base in light grey, leaving the eye sockets and nostrils black to enhance that skull-like appearance. The model also has these excellent spine and rib protuberances, so I give those a base as well. A larger ball of grey on the spine knobs, making sure to leave a gap between each knob, and a thinner stripe down the ribs, both back and on the front. With the patterns roughed in, the effect is pushed further with a generous highlight of Vallejo Sky Grey, leaving the light grey down in the recesses. And then a final highlight of Vallejo White is applied to give us maximum contrast against the black, and really sell the skeletal appearance of the markings. Vallejo Royal Purple is used to base the tongue and inside of the mouth. I also use it to hit the webbing between the jaws, and the gums around the base of the teeth, trying to avoid getting any on the white of the jaws we have already done. This is given a wash of army painted dark tone to shade the details and darken the, well, tone. While I wait for that to dry, I grab the black grey again and give all of the claws and spines a solid coat. And then a couple of highlights with a little Vallejo Iraqi sand mixed in. First at about 30 to 70 sand to grey, then about 50-50. This gives us a slightly different black-grey tone from the scales, and we will finish it off with a little gloss later on. The wash in the mouth has dried by now, so I go back in with the royal purple and give the tongue and mouth a highlight. The model has a slight lumpy texture down the tongue, so I match that somewhat with stripy highlights across the width of it. and hit the higher parts of the webbing between the jaws. Vallejo Off-White is used to pick out the teeth, giving us a slightly different tone from the skull markings, and being careful to leave a dark line around each of the teeth. And then they're given a highlight of white. It's time for the eyes, and I start with Vallejo Scarlet Blood to give us a bright red orb, doing my best to avoid the black socket around the eye. It takes a couple of coats to get a really nice colour. Then Vallejo Sunset Orange is used to mark in a brighter spot, slightly forward of centre. That's the flat colours done, so the model is given a spray of Tamiya Flat Clear to seal what we've got and remove any unwanted shine. When that's been given time to dry, I use a little Vallejo Gloss Varnish to pick out the claws and spines, giving them a little wanted shine. Then it's time to drool up the mouth, and I start with a little cat hair. Time the little buggers earn their keep. I use a little super glue to glue a couple of strands of hair between teeth on the upper and lower jaw. The hair will provide a little structure for the upcoming Mod Podge to stick to, and give us strings of slobber spanning the Surma's mouth. With the hair in position, the whole inside of the mouth and tongue can be given a generous coat of gloss Mod Podge to sell the slavering drool effect. As that dries, I use a little Vallejo Fluorescent Red to enhance the eyes, giving them a slight glow effect to really make them pop. And then I apply a second layer of Mod Podge to the inside of the mouth, building up the drool. It's not sticking to the hair quite as well as I would like, so a trick to help with that is to run a little super glue down the length of the hair. It does not require much, but it adds a little extra blobby texture to the hair that gives the Mod Podge something to grab. So after giving that a little time to dry, I can run more Mod Podge down the hair, and it'll bead up on the strand a lot better, giving us a nice bubbly drool strand. The final little bit on the Surma itself is a little black to slit in the pupil of the eye. A thin vertical line through the bright point we painted earlier gives us a really nice reptilian eye, glowing inside its skeletal socket. That's the Surma itself done, and we can move on to basing. I spent a long time debating how I was going to base this fella. Imagine, if you will, exploring the deep places of the world, where from out of the flickering torchlight an immense skeletal serpent with glowing red eyes appears, the rest of the creature's dark body hidden among the shadows. Horrifying to be sure, and that effect would be totally ruined by my usual bright green grass. But at the same time, I wanted something that would fit in with the rest of my basing. So I settled on a transitional base and movement tray, moving from the dark inside of a cave to the bright grass outside the mouth. So our first step is filler. I slather this on the back half of the base and movement tray, using a broad sculpting tool to smear it on as thick sheets of stone, being careful to avoid getting any on the model itself. Then, while that's still wet, I paint a bunch of glue onto the rest of the base, before pouring fine sand over the glue, slightly overlapping the filler and blending the two surfaces together. For extra detail, some larger chunks of sand can be pressed into the filler to represent smaller rocks on the floor of the cave. Though not shown, the sand is locked down with watered down PVA. When dry, that's all given a generous coat of black paint to undercoat the basing materials, and then I apply successive dry brushes of lighter greys to pull out the details and give us a rock-like look. Another layer of sand on the front 25 to 30% of the base follows that up, again locked into place with watered down PVA. I give that sand a dry brush of Vallejo khaki to lighten it, and work that dry brush back into the stone area a little to blend the materials together. A little grout on the front of the movement tray will help blend it with the rest of my models. Again, fix with a little watered down PVA. A couple of crushed stones from the garden and bones taken from the skeleton frame are added to the back of the movement tray to further the cave or lair feeling. And the stone at the back of the movement tray is given a light wash of Army Painter Strong Tone and Green Tone mixed together to better match with the natural colour of the garden stones. Once the bone details are finished off, and I've added a little grass to the movement tray, that's the basing done. I'm really happy with how the model came out. It's a very simple scheme, but I think it looks really effective, and the transition on the base and movement tray sells the effect really well. The remaining question is, do I paint the second Surma to match, or try something wildly different? Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers!